why most Zimbabweans will never become rich. And before you get offended, I'm not blaming you. I'm not saying that you're lazy, and I'm also not saying that you're unintelligent. I'm saying the system that you were born into was not designed to teach you wealth. And today I'm going to break that down step by step so that you can understand why most people stay stuck, why it's not their fault, and how you can escape it. Because once you see the system, you cannot unsee it. The real problem, the biggest reasons most Zimbabweans won't become rich is this: they were never actually taught how money works. In school, you were taught to pass exams, to memorize information, to get good grades, and also to find a stable job. But you were never taught how assets work, how to scale a business, how leverage creates wealth, and how currency strength affects your income. You were trained for employment, not for ownership, and that's not your fault. That's structural. That's how the system has trained you to be. The economy has been the way it is for years. Inflation destroys savings, currency shifts punish long-term planning, so people shift into survival mode. And when you're put into survival mode, you change the way you think. You make decisions based off of reactions. The survival loop. When you grow up in instability, your brain focuses on short-term safety. You'll be thinking about, how do I pay bills this month? How do I survive? How do I put food on my table? And if you've got a family, you'd be thinking about them as well. You'll also be thinking about, how do I stay afloat? And that's normal. That's understandable for someone who has been in the system. Survival thinking does not create wealth, it limits it. Wealth requires long-term planning, delayed gratification, skill development, and asset accumulation. If all your mental energy goes into surviving, you will not make it. And this is because you won't be able to think strategically. And the sad truth is that most people will never be able to escape that loop. The loop of going to school, getting a job, paying bills, and repeating. Generations after generations. 20 years will pass, and the next generation after you would be doing the exact same thing. And it's not because they're stupid, it's because they were never exposed to a different system. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. In developed countries, children grow up seeing credit systems, how credit works, investment culture, how stock markets work, how to get business ownership, and they have the leverage of earning in a stable currency. They see examples of wealth and implement it into their own life. They understand that money can work for them. In Zimbabwe, on the other hand, people see salary, people see expenses, people make purchases that don't expand their wealth. We see people side hustling, and in Zimbabwe we also see people struggling, so their model of wealth is very limited. What people in Africa and around the world really need to understand is that your environment shapes your financial scene. If no one around you owns assets, you won't think about owning an asset yourself. It won't even come to mind because no one around is thinking about it. If no one around you is earning globally, you won't even think about earning globally. This is what you call an inflation gap, not an intelligence gap. How wealth actually works. Let me simplify wealth into 3 stages: time, skill, and capital. Most people, when they think about starting a business or starting to create wealth in any way, they always think about capital. They always think about, where can I get the money to start? This is not the case. You do not need money to create wealth. Wealth does not start with money. It starts with skills. It starts with lifestyle change. It also starts with high income skills. Skills that are valuable globally. Skills that can earn in strong currencies. And once you build those skills, the skills will produce income. Once income is consistent, you'll be able to buy assets, and assets produce more income. And that's the loop that rich people operate in. Skills, income, assets, and more income. But if you stay stuck in salary thinking, you'll never enter into that loop. The hard truth, here's the uncomfortable reality. Most Zimbabweans will not become rich, the same way that 99% of the population is not wealthy. And this is not because they cannot do it, but because they won't allow themselves to. Because they will never shift their thinking. They will blame the economy, they will blame politicians, and they will blame the system. They don't take accountability for the current situation that they're in. And yes, you may think that these things don't matter, but they actually do. You also need to realize that you cannot control macroeconomics. You can control your skill level, your information intake, the content you're consuming, your exposure, and your ambitions. The moment you decide to operate globally and not locally, everything changes. This is how you can escape. If you're 16, if you're 18, if you're 21, if you've got a family, if people are depending on you, if you're depending on yourself, you are not behind. Believe it or not, you are actually early. Most people in this economy are not leveraging the free tools that they have to become wealthy. If I were to give you advice, this is what I would tell you to do. Master a globally valued income skill. This could be coding, This could be digital marketing. This could be sales. This could be AI. This could be content. This could be trading. And there's so many more skills out there. Earn in stronger currencies. Don't only limit yourself to earning in local income. Live below your means, even if you earn more. Buy assets, not liabilities that impress people. Live small enough, long enough, so that you can live big for the rest of your life. That's the saying that I go by. And I think that the most important thing is to think long term. Wealth is not built in 1 year or in 2 years. It could be, but usually it's not. People need to understand that wealth is built through systems. And now the truth is that most Zimbabweans won't become rich, but you don't have to be most Zimbabweans. Most people won't become rich, but you don't have to be most people. Most people in Africa won't become rich, but you don't have to become most of the people in Africa. All you need is better information. You need to be consuming information that is actually helpful to you and not damaging you in any way. That's the reason I started this channel, to bridge the gap between Africa and global wealth systems. If you're serious about building wealth, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. And as always, from Africa to the world, let's build wealth.